Let me tell you how I messed up my retirement. Well, I retired. I didn't retire too early. I didn't retire too late. I retired on time. And then about 3 years later, I started doing inventory of all of our monies that we had. And guess what? It was starting to shrink. And so I did a little projection into the future. And in
Welcome to Pegasus versus the World, where we take on challenges, comedy, trending topics, and some travel.
City boy! City boy!
All right, so this is interesting, and we've been diving down the rabbit hole with some of these cool TikTok videos where people are discussing things about being a millennial, boomer, Generation X, or Gen Z. And I think a lot of them are important conversations. This one, I'm going to listen to Brother Man and hear him out, but I honestly don't believe that people in this position, a lot of times I don't believe it's their fault. A lot of people, when they're planning for their retirement, they sit down, they do the numbers, and they give it a little cushion room. I could be incorrect. I don't know how you plan for a pandemic and then governments to print up money and create this total chaos with inflation and price hikes and stuff like that. You can plan kind of, and put some cushion like, hey, if prices go up this much, but the catastrophic event that happened in 2020 that we call a pandemic, and that depends on how you guys look at it. I'll keep it neutral for the sake of not trying to be hyperbolic with what he's trying to express here. But how do you plan for that? And people tapping in the comments, maybe you'd be like, oh yeah, you do plan for stuff like that. There's certain events that you can't plan for. For example, let me give you guys a great example. During the Great Depression, people went and started pulling their money out of banks, and the people who got to the bank late just didn't get their money. The people were like, hey, we ran out of money. If everyone pulled their money out of banks right now, the bank doesn't have enough money to cover that, right? Because there's a lot of different reasons for it. Some basic fundamental things I learned was like, I forget the number exactly, but for example, if you put $1,000 in your savings account, then they leverage that and loan out $10,000 to other people type of concepts, Anyways, how do you plan for a Great Depression? And I think you can, but if you're just a normal person who's like, hey, I'm saving up for my retirement. I just don't want to have to work in my 60s. I want to be able to see my family, go on cruises, chill out, eat, and just not have to, blah, blah, blah. I don't necessarily think people are like, oh, let me plan for a Great Depression. Let me plan for a nuclear winter. Let me plan for another pandemic. That's crazy. That's the type of paranoia I'm on. And, like billionaires are building bunkers for nuclear fallouts and stuff. We're normal people, man. So I get paranoid like that, though. I think of all of that stuff. However, let's see what he has this day. Let's give his video a like. It's been getting a lot of views. This is Chrome Reverse, Uncle Butch. If you want to go check him out on TikTok, show him some love. I failed to have an adequate retirement plan, but found out way too late. Senior citizen. Senior citizens retired. Hashtag. So let's see what he has to say and talk about it. If you want to rock with me, like, share, comment, subscribe. If you don't know who I am, I'm Black Pegasus. Link in the description of my other channels. Let go.
Let me tell you how I messed up my retirement. Well, I retired. I didn't retire too early. I didn't retire too late. I retired on time. And then about 3 years later, I started doing inventory of all of our monies that we had. And guess what? It was starting to shrink. And so I did a little projection into the future. And in 5 to 7 years, my wife and I would be broke while we are retired. So that was awful. After looking forward to retirement for like 2 or 3 years before I retired, standing around in the office, bullshitting with people, drinking coffee. I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire. Ugh. So what did I do? After 2 or 3 years and things started shrinking, I went back and worked part-time like an idiot, because it didn't feel like retirement anymore. I was having a good time while it was shrinking. I knew the money was going out, but I thought, with the fluctuation in the market and things getting, more expensive, and I've seen the waves the last 40 years, so I thought, okay, it'll come back up. Our 401ks will pick back up. Our 401ks flattened from the time I retired. Flattened.
See, that's what's crazy. And I'm going to keep it real, you guys. I'm not like some accredited investor, I think is what they call it, or a sophisticated investor. Like, I'm just getting in. I'm just starting to get in. But the problem with me is I never worked for a corporation. I've always been independent, work for myself. So I have to build up my own retirement. And I saw the 401ks and I didn't understand it until I started looking into it, how it's connected to the market and they fluctuate and stuff like that. And so, like, I just wasn't a real big fan of the 401k, especially how they tax you on the way out when you pull your stuff on the way out. So I personally went with IULs, indexed universal life, where you have a life insurance and you have a life insurance policy, right? And then with mine, because it's indexed, you're able to put money into it, and it's on an index fund, and it grows with the market. But with the IUL, there's a cap. So the thing is, I don't get tax benefits putting it in. So if I had a 401k, I could write it off because you get tax benefits going in. However, I believe they tax you on the way out. Let me know, because I'm just starting to figure out some of this stuff as I go, and the more information I have, the better. But with my IUL, there's no tax incentive to put it in, so I can't write it off. However, I can pull the money by pulling loans, and so it grows tax-free. My index fund, it grows tax-free in my IUL, and then the way it's structured, I can pull it out through a loan tax-free as well. So I just like the way it looked on paper better. Also, there's a cap when the market falls. Like the 401k, your shit just dips with the market, but with the IUL, it just stops at zero. So like if all hell broke loose, it would just stop and you wouldn't be in the negative. It would just stop. You know what I'm saying? So that's my basic understanding. And I'm trying to figure out the next place to go with investments, right? Like, I want to get into real estate. I'm into crypto. I'm into a couple other things. And I'm heavily invested in my businesses. My businesses have always turned over more percentage than the market or anything else. But I am at a point where I need to start putting it into things so it just sits there and it compounds. But this is interesting. I actually like hearing stories like this. I don't like hearing people going through hard times. I just like learning and listening. So let's listen to what else he did, because I don't have a parachute. I don't have a resume. I guess I have a resume in entertainment, but I just don't have like I stopped working in 2004, and all my jobs were like telemarketing, construction, painting houses, selling furniture, selling knives, landscaping. So I don't have like a degree. I don't have a place to go to. I don't have a fallback plan. It's just like, yo, I have to get it popping. So I look at people who are just in like a company. Like, I have a friend who works for Target, and he's like, yeah, they put money in my 401k. I have benefits. I do this. And, they stick with the company for all these years, and then they retire and things, and I know a lot of military people. My dad's retired and it's worked out. My father-in-law has a great, setup with his retirement, but some people, don't. And so it's good to see both and try to figure it out for yourself.
Our 401ks will pick back up. Our 401ks flattened from the time I retired. Flattened. They even went down about 5, 6, 10%. Easily went down. But then they came back up to flatten. So those give you little hopes, and you go, oh, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. It's coming back. It's coming back. It didn't come back. I don't know what the hell happened the last 2 years. Groceries tripled or quadrupled. Cars went up 25%. Heating, electric. I mean, our gas for our furnace almost doubled. It was around $1 at one time about 5 years ago. And now it's like $2 something.
You guys, he's not lying. And this is what I'm talking about, these catastrophic events that happen, like the pandemic, that increase the price of living to a crazy level. And then people are going to argue with you. Person like myself argued with people, do not shut down businesses, do not close down schools, do not stop the market, keep things going. We are going to face epic proportions of bullshit with inflation, etc. Now, this isn't the only reason the US currency is inflated. We have a horrible budget with our government, huge deficits, all this shit. But the pandemic just totally exacerbated everything. And it wasn't just the pandemic, it was the way we handled the pandemic. So, it's kind of interesting when you have brothers who are older, and the whole concept of the pandemic shutting down everything was literally for older people to protect them, because typically young, healthy people weren't being affected by, I mean, some were, but it's just like statistically. And now we're in this effed up situation, all of us, because I feel it at the grocery store. The grocery store, we almost spend as much as we spend in rent at the grocery store. We have 2 children, so there's 4 of us, me, my wife, and my 2 kids. One of my kids has arthritis, so we have to eat everything organic, because when we don't, we notice she can have flare-ups. Organic food is more expensive than normal food, probably even more expensive than the food he's eating. So I get it. It's not easy. And, gas has just hovered at this $2.50, $3 mark. Like, yeah, it's definitely been a lot. There's been a lot of chaos in the markets. But ironically, some people have gotten rich through the chaos. That's what's even more wild. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's just how these trends go. But let's hear them out.
A gallon. That's for propane. Okay. So now I'm cutting more firewood, being as diligent as I can about that. But my hands are starting to cramp. I have this, what you call trigger finger, and it's something with a tendon in there. And I'll tell you something, it hurts.
Older, brother.
And the operation is 3 years for I'm sorry. 3 months for recovery. I can't imagine not using my right hand for 3 months, but I think I'm going to have to go there and do that. Anyway, I work part-time. I hated it. I had the same boss, and I hated him, and it wasn't good. I was getting sick again, driving into work. You know how you get that feeling? I got to go in there again. You get up, you get showered, you get in your car, you go. Oh my God. So it wasn't like being retired at all. Plus you don't get benefits. And then they wanted me to do as much work as I did before. And, everyone was surprised to see me back there after like 3.5 years. They're, oh, Ed, I thought you were retired. That even made it feel better, right? No, not. Okay. Well, I've done some things in the past 2 years that is helping me out quite a bit.
Okay, cool.
And I started a TikTok shop on another account, which I monetized, and that went pretty good. Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you more in a little bit. Bye for now.
Interesting. When you tell stories like that on TikTok, I also start to wonder, is it a hustle to get people over to your TikToks, your, shop and stuff? But what I will say is right now, social media, like, hold on, my dog. Hey, chill. She can't chill for nothing, man. Anyway, TikTok shop, getting on YouTube. The other thing is, I think older people don't realize the value they have is lived experience. You don't have to be a world traveler. You don't have to be, you have lived experience. You have value. I personally would recommend anybody in their 40s or up to just jump on YouTube and start talking about concepts and things that can help people, or things that didn't help you, the biggest mistakes you've made in your life, the biggest opportunities you've had in your life, the best quotes. Like, just get on YouTube, make 8-minute videos plus, do a really good title, try to get a cool thumbnail, but really just focus on a good title and just start recording. You could make a nice little extra bag of money on YouTube. I'm living proof of that. That can help you through some of this. Some people might be able to cushion their retirement mishaps or just getting on YouTube and talking. I'm telling you this, that angst you feel before you go into the office and you're like, oh God, I never really felt that. I feel burnout with certain things that I have to do, but I've never been like, oh, I'm dreading this, because it's just like it's like my businesses. You know what I'm saying? That there's also a lot more flexibility when it's like your thing, right? Your business, your set certain things up. So hopefully he figures it out. But it's cool. We got to highlight it here and then talk about it. Y'all let me know, because some people have fumbled their retirement and then some people are winning. Some people are just straight winning. And it's always interesting to hear the unique perspectives and stories. And this is what I want to do, is try to get to a level. My goal is to get to a level where I'm at a level of retirement when I'm 55, where I just have way more financial freedom and freedom in general. But yeah, if I'm being honest, I can't imagine my life without working. I just can't. I want to work till the day I die, probably on something, like help coach at the gym, making content, making, screenplays. I don't know. I've always been very creative, making music. I don't want to, I want to be able to travel a lot more and have freedom to do that without being like, oh, I got to do all this work. But I don't want to just travel only and watch TV. I want to be active and proactive, maybe help launch some younger folks into the spaces that I became successful in. I'm still working on personally trying to get to a place where I'm like, I am successful here and I will show you how to do it type of, vibes. But anyways, good stuff. I appreciated that video and his honesty and vulnerability, as long as it was absolutely true, Anyways, let me know what I got, what I missed. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Catch you on the next one.
City boy! City boy!